Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading some horror novels. So it came to my attention when I did a vlog reading romance books that I haven't been reading horror, and that is because I showed my reading statistics and my friend was the one who noticed that after that vlog I had read as many romances as horror, and I don't read romance. The only ones I read were for that vlog, and I had also only read 4 horror books by that point, and we can't have that happening because horror is one of my favorite genres. And so I was craving horror, and that's why we're here. We're gonna read 3 horror books that I have been wanting to read for a while, and the first is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and this is actually one of my anticipated releases for this year. The next one is The Deep by Nick Cutter, and the third and last is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And at this point I have already read all of them, so I already know my thoughts about everything, but also there are no spoilers. This is a spoiler-free vlog, and yeah, let's just get into the books. Okay, so the first book I'm gonna read for this vlog is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and this is a fantasy horror, and I love fantasy and I love horror, so this should be right up my alley. And also this is one of my most anticipated releases for this year, so that's even more exciting. And this is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, but I've never read that, so I have no idea what to expect. And I've read the synopsis, obviously, because it was one of my anticipated releases, but let's read it together anyway. When Alex Easton, a retired soldier, receives word that their childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying, they race to the ancestral home of the Ushers in the remote countryside of Ruritania. What they find there is a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife, surrounding a dark, pulsing lake. Madeline sleepwalks and speaks in strange voices at night, and her brother Roderick is consumed with a mysterious malady of the nerves. Aided by a redoubtable British mycologist and a baffled American doctor, Alex must unravel the secret of the House of Usher before it consumes them all. So I am very excited for that, and let's get reading. Okay, so I am 56% into What Moves the Dead, and honestly, I am just stopping to update because I wanted to update halfway through, but I didn't really want to stop reading because I am really enjoying it. And this book actually starts with a bang of a disgusting sentence, and I'm just gonna read that. Literally, the opening sentence of this book is, "The mushroom's gills were the deep red color of severed muscle, the almost violet shade that contrasts so dreadfully with the pale pink of viscera." That's it. That is how you start a book. I mean, it starts this way, but it continues to be this way, and it has so many beautifully disgusting descriptions of, obviously, mushrooms, but everything, the whole atmosphere around the house and even inside the house. And speaking of the house, it sort of seems to be a character itself, and I love stories where there are sort of I don't know if this is a haunted house, I don't think it is, but a creepy house where the house itself is sort of a character. I really love that. And in terms of the fantasy side of this book, we have learned about Alex's country and different words and pronouns they use there, and just a little bit about the history. And Alex, I love Alex.
the main character, absolutely love them. And there's another character that I like, and the ushers I am actually unsure about. And I have to say that it's slower paced than the books that I tend to love. But since we're getting so many like disgusting descriptions, like detailed disgusting descriptions of pretty much everything, I am actually loving it for the like creepy, disgusting atmosphere, and I don't mind that it's a bit slower than I would like. So I am, like I said, I'm really loving this. And this is like a pretty short book, so I'm not gonna get into any actual details of what is happening because I would spoil everything, and that is not what I'm here for. But I'm just gonna read other two things that I screenshotted. Granted, the plants all look dead or dying. Granted, the windows of the house stared down like eye sockets in a row of skulls. Yes, but so what? Actual rows of skulls wouldn't affect me so strongly. I knew a collector in Paris. Well, never mind the details. He was the gentlest of souls, though he did collect rather odd things. But he used to put festive hats on his skulls depending on the season, and they all looked rather jolly. And another thing, it was like a conversation between two people. They say mushrooms spring up where the devil walks, said Angus sourly, and where fairies dance. Do you think they ever get the two confused? The devil shows up to a fairy ball or finds himself mobbed with elven ingenues? He gave me a look from under his eyebrows. You shouldn't joke about fairies, sir. Oh, very well, as long as I can still joke about the devil. So yeah, I am loving it, and I will continue to read it, and I will finish it, and I will give you my final thoughts on the book. Okay, so I have finished What Moves the Dead, and literally the next chapter I read after doing my update, like a very shocking thing happened, and I literally just was staring at my laptop and stopped listening to the audiobook because I was like, what the fuck? And then it got even more shocking from that, and I was literally thinking, holy shit, every couple of pages. And when they were trying to figure out like the cause for all that was happening, there was such a disgusting scene, like one of the most disgusting things I've ever read and listened to, and I loved every second of that. And in this second half of the book, things definitely moved faster, but the level of grossness and creepiness was still as high as it was before, which I loved. And also, this had a lot of body horror. Most of the disgusting things were, I mean, maybe not most, but like a lot of them were body horror related. And I think that is one of my favorite kinds of horror. So again, I love that. And in terms of the characters, I continue to love Alex, and the ushers I wasn't sure about. And one of them I actually ended up liking. The other, not really, but that character was a great character. I mean, I didn't love that character as a person, but I loved them as a character. And the ending wasn't like the perfect ending for me, but it was still very good. And I feel like most people would prefer this ending than the ending that I wanted. And I love it. Like overall, it had great creepy, disgusting vibes, and that was what I was here for. And like I think I said, and if I didn't say, I was thinking it, I have been craving horror because I haven't read much horror this year, and I am a lot happier now. And I gave this book 4.5 stars just because like it wasn't absolutely perfect for me with the ending, but overall it was great. And now we can move on to the next book for this vlog, and that is The Deep by Nick Cutter. And this is obviously horror, and it's kind of science fiction. And I've read the synopsis of this book but it was a while ago, and so I don't exactly remember. But I read The Troop by this author last year, and I absolutely loved it. Again, it was body horror, it was disgusting, it was everything I wanted it to be, and so that is literally why I want to read this book. And so let's read the synopsis together. Okay, so I'm actually filming on my phone because my camera battery is dead, so I went to get my laptop, and let's read this. A strange plague called the Gets is decimating humanity on a global scale. It causes people to forget small things at first, like where they left their keys, then the not so small things like how to drive or the letters of the alphabets. Then their bodies forget how to function involuntarily, and there is no cure. But now, far below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, deep in the Marianas Trench, an heretofore unknown substance hailed as ambrosia has been discovered, a universal healer, from initial reports. It may just be the key to a universal cure. In order to study this phenomenon, a special research lab, the Trieste, has been built 8 miles under the sea surface. But now the station is incommunicado, and it's up to the brave few to descend through the lightless fathoms in hopes of unraveling the mysteries lurking at those crushing depths, and perhaps to encounter an evil blacker than anything one could possibly imagine. So, sounds fun, and I will update once I'm probably halfway through this one. Okay, so I have finished part 3 of The Deep, which is only 39% into the book, but part 4 is gonna be very long because I have checked, so I decided to stop here. And so we have gotten to know Luke, who is the main character that we're following, and everything that has happened in his past and like all the trauma that he has because of the things he went through, both as a child and as an adult. And we also got to know a little about the disease that gets and like how it affects people, the stages, and all of that. And Luke has gotten to that place underwater where his brother is studying the ambrosia. And there have been some scenes that made me uncomfortable, some of them in a good way and some of them in a bad way, because they were mostly body horror, which I love. I love feeling uncomfortable with body horror, but when it's done on humans, when it's done on animals, I am not such a big fan. So those ones make me feel uncomfortable, but in a bad way that I do not enjoy. But on the other hand, there is also like a very claustrophobic feeling, which makes sense because like he's trapped in like a station underwater. So it's obviously gonna be claustrophobic, and I do enjoy that feeling. And like I am enjoying it, but I'm not like, obsessed. I'm not fully invested in what's happening. And I mean, I don't dislike the main character, but I'm also like not really connecting to him that much. So maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure. I just know that I'm not loving it as I was expecting, but I'm hoping it's gonna like start picking up now in part 4. So I have hopes and I have fears because there is a dog at the station. And like I said, there's body horror with animals, so I'm just hoping nothing will happen to that dog, but, you know, doubtful. But anyway, like I said, not loving it, not obsessed, but not disliking it either. It's fine. It's fun sort of. So I am still excited to keep reading, and I am hoping it will get better in this second half, more than half. So I will update again once I finish it. Hello again. So I have finished The Deep, and I still didn't love it. I mean, there were things I enjoyed, like we continue to have that claustrophobic feeling throughout the whole book, which, like I said, makes sense because the characters were trapped underwater. So it was obviously going to be claustrophobic, and like it definitely, like, we felt that. And also there were a lot of other like creepy things, like the characters would be dreaming, like having nightmares, and then those nightmares would kind of spill into the waking world, which was fun. And so the horror was definitely both physical and psychological, maybe even more psychological at a point than it became very physical, which leads us to the body horror, which, like I have said already, I enjoy a lot. I love it when it's on humans. When it's on animals, I don't like it. And there was more like body horror on animals and just animals suffering than I would have enjoyed. So yeah, I didn't love that. But I mean, I didn't hate the book. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was creepy, but it wasn't like all I expected it to be. And I don't know if that's because I had like very high expectations because I loved the troop, or if it really wasn't like as good. I don't know. I just know that I did not love it. Also, I would have wanted like more about the pandemic, because we got to see like how the disease works, how it affects people, but on a very superficial level. And I know that's not what the story was about, but still, like, that would have been horror as well. And I would have liked to see a little more of that, like in the beginning of the book, before Luke got down there, or like even if he was down there but was, I don't know, explaining what was happening to people. Yeah, like we got a little bit of that, but I wanted more, because that is also terrifying. And so, like I said, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was okay. It was enjoyable. I did not waste my time reading it. And yeah, it was fun, except the part where animals were suffering. And I am going to give it 3 stars. Now, moving on to the next book. So it's obviously horror as well. And I'm sorry if my laptop is making a lot of noise because I just turned it on and it sounds like it's about to explode. But anyway, it's obviously horror, like I was saying, and I have actually been wanting to read this book for over a year, but then I never did. But I've just seen so many good reviews from people that I follow that I am excited. And that is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And I am going to read the synopsis, which is very short. Seamlessly blending classic horror and the dramatic narrative with sharp social commentary, The Only Good Indians follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on revenge, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent, vengeful way. And that sounds very promising. So I'm excited. And like I said, I have been wanting to read this book for so long, and it's finally happening.
Hello. So, I am 44% into The Only Good Indians, and I am very sad to report that I am not loving it like I thought I would. And we have been following one of the four guys that are mentioned in the synopsis, and we have also already learned what like that event in the past was, and let me tell you, that was not fun to read or listen to because I'm doing both. And yeah, not very enjoyable. Also, that character that we were following in part one, because I read part one of three, which was almost half of the book, and so that character that we were following, he was kind of losing his mind to the point where I didn't know if like the things he was describing were actually happening or if he was just all in his head. And then at the end of part one, we got the answer to my question, but I was still just like, what the fuck? And this book is very hard to talk about without spoiling, so I am kind of struggling here, but it definitely had like very gory moments, and some of them I was fine with. I mean, I was more than fine with. I really enjoyed. Others, not so much. And that's again because some of them were on animals. And I think what we can take, like the main lesson we can take from this vlog, is that, you know, you can hurt humans, you can torture them, you can dismember them, you can do whatever the hell you want to do to them. And I'm just gonna be like, yeah, go for it. That's fun to read. But don't touch the animals. You know, that's our takeaway here. But also, it had some psychological horror, which I think I enjoyed more than the other part. And I mean, I'm not disliking the book, I'm just not loving it as much. And I don't exactly know why, because I do like the story, I like the plot line. It's interesting, it's different, it's something that I should enjoy. And I mean, I am enjoying the story, but I think it might be the writing style that I'm not vibing with, and I'm not loving it. I wanted to love this book so bad, and I am not obsessed with it. But I am still hoping that the rest of the book, which is 56%, will still win me over and blow me away. And yeah, I will update again once I finish it.
Okay, so I have finished The Only Good Indians, and it did not, in fact, blow me away. Actually, for part 2, I felt pretty much like I felt with part 1. Maybe, honestly, I might have liked it a little less, because in part 1 I was like more invested, I guess, in the plot line, in what was happening to the character we were following in part 1, because in part 2 it was different characters, and I think I was more like connected to the character for part 1. So in part 2 I wasn't loving it, and I was, you know, worrying that I was gonna like the book less than I was already liking it, and I was like, why is this happening to me? But then on part 3, I actually really enjoyed it. And I don't know if it was because we were following like yet another character, and obviously the character had a different voice, and maybe like the writing was different enough where like it was the kind of writing style that I like. So maybe it was because of that. I don't know, I just know that I liked part 3 a lot more than the rest of the book, and I also really liked the ending. And overall, I really like the cultural side of the book, learning about the culture of the four men and other characters as well that we followed. And like I said, I really like the premise, like the story, the plot line. I just didn't vibe with most of the writing style. And the body horror situation in parts 2 and 3 were more like my type of body horror, so that was also good. And the psychological horror was also pretty good. So in theory, I should have loved this book, which was what I expected, but I feel like it just wasn't for me. But so many people love this book that, you know, I would still recommend if you like horror, because again, I just didn't vibe with the writing style personally, but the story, it's pretty good. And so I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. And let's just wrap this up. So What Moves the Dead was definitely my favorite out of the books I read for this vlog. It had like some perfect, creepy, disgusting vibes, and it was all that I was looking for. Except the ending, like, it could have been just slightly better personally for me, but I was fine with it anyway. And then The Deep and The Only Good Indians, I obviously didn't love as much as I expected, but I did like the ending of The Only Good Indians more than the ending of The Deep, which is why I gave it an extra half star. And even though like not all the books I read for this vlog were like my absolute favorite, the point of this vlog was to give me some very needed horror content. So did that happen? Yes. Did it make me happy? Also yes. So in conclusion, I'm happy. And that is everything for this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!